One of the ways I think you mobilized people, and it seems like you were very successful with this in Barnstable, was you had a really active and robust public communications program. You seem like you, I was fascinated with your, I guess it's Blackboard Connect system, yes, that people could actually put in suggestions, and then other people could comment on them, and they may even go somewhere eventually down the road. Do you see anything like that possibly working in Portsmouth?
Well, I tell a story in my next piece that's in the Portsmouth Patch. I talk about what happened to me in Barnstable when I started in 1999. I had been out of government for a while, local government for a while, and when I came back, I was shocked. I almost could feel the sense of disconnect between town hall and the citizens. It was obvious that something had changed, and so I started talking to our citizens, and you know, I heard over and over again, people just don't care anymore. They're cynical, they don't trust government, they have 2 or 3 jobs, they don't have the time to participate anymore, and they don't care. They don't care about local government, and you can try all you want, but you're not going to get people to participate in local government. And so I kept hearing that over and over again, and I soon came to the conclusion that I might have made a poor career choice by going to town hall. And so I had to make a decision to either try to exit stage right as quickly as possible or to try to do something about it. And so we began a process of trying to put together a comprehensive outreach plan. It started with simply mandating that our senior managers spend as much time in the community as possible. And so we announced that we were available to go to the local Rotary Club or to a neighborhood association or civic association. And an interesting thing happened. The more we did that, the more invitations came forward. And we significantly increased the amount of appearances that we were making. And it wasn't just me, the town manager, but I had an assistant town manager and I had our major department heads. Everyone had a commitment to get out into the community and talk about what they were doing or whatever. One of the things that we did as well is we made a decision to come up with funding for a professionally driven citizen survey. And Barnstable is a lot larger than Portsmouth, but it's about 50,000 annual population. But when you get that large, you really start questioning whether any one person could have a good sense of the pulse of the community. So having been involved with politics and knowledgeable about public opinion surveys, I requested that the town council come up with an appropriation. I can remember the night as though it was yesterday. I appeared before the council and they said, you want, I don't know, I can't remember, it was $6,000 or $7,000 at the time. That's a lot of money to do an annual survey. And so I got up and I said, you know something? We're going to ask the residents of the town of Barnstable to come up with $100 million to fund this year's budget. And you're telling me that $6,000 or $7,000 is too much to pay, to ask the citizens that are paying that $100 million what they think about what's going on in town. And actually, to their credit, the council voted unanimously to support that. And every year since, we've conducted an annual citizen survey that has been a terrific tool in telling us what people like or dislike about local government, what they think works, what doesn't work, and what their suggestions are. When I was in Florida for a period of time, one community began a Citizens Leadership Academy. And I was intrigued by that concept of actually holding a school for citizens so that, A, they could learn about the day-to-day operations of the community, but just as importantly, allowing our department heads an opportunity to listen to the concerns of our citizens. And I can remember we started the academy in 2003, and the naysayers right out of the box said, you're not even going to fill the first class. Well, when I left Barnstable, 675 residents had graduated from the Citizens Academy, and it's an 11-week course, 1 night a week for 11 weeks, so it's a major commitment of time or whatever, but it's been an invaluable resource for us in terms of knowing better what's on the minds of our citizens. And we've heard that our citizens, to this day, there's 2 semesters a year, and every time we announce a new semester, there's a waiting list to get into the program. So then we started an e-newsletter Once a week, as town manager, I sent out a newsletter, and the skeptics said, you know, people aren't even going to sign up. You're going to spend all this time writing this e-newsletter, and if you get 50 people signed up, you'll be lucky. And it's not going to be worth your while. Other towns have tried it. It's just not going to work. Today, 3,000 households in Barnstable receive a weekly e-newsletter, and every week new people sign up. And so in all of this, it kind of goes contrary to the original point that I made. People said people don't care about town government anymore. And at every turn, every time we tried to implement a community outreach initiative, people have participated. So we have drawn the conclusion that people still love their community, and they still care about their community, and they will participate. They just don't want to participate the way our parents or our grandparents did. You know, we don't have town meetings anymore every couple of weeks with 200 or 300 people. I mean, that's just not going to happen. But through using the TV, the website, e-newsletters, and other technology, it's very, very clear. The truth is that when I left Barnstable, there were probably more people participating on a regular basis than did 30 or 40 years ago when people were so-called connected with local government. So our little laboratory of experimentation
Sure.
in terms of community outreach showed us that people do care, and you need to. Now the question is, as the new town administrator here, what lessons would work here? And I asked in my upcoming Portsmouth patch piece, I asked for input whether or not citizens in Portsmouth would be interested in attending a Citizens Leadership Academy, whether they would want to receive a newsletter, whether they would want a town official regularly to come to their committee or club meeting and the like. I don't know what the answer is, but it'll be interesting to find out.
Well, I think so, and I think you'll find there are a lot of people in Portsmouth that would volunteer to do something that they're interested in. One of the things, if you look at the structure of our town government, we have a lot of committees.
Yes.
And committees have been sort of the de facto way where you can actually do something like in your neighborhood. I happen to be the chairman of the Bristol Ferry Town Common Committee. We have a very tiny town common. You probably haven't seen it yet. I'll have to take it down and show it to you. It's so small you drive right past it, you'd never see it. But it was formed in 1714. So it's got to be one of the earliest town commons. But anyway, this is a way that people can get involved here without going in and hearing the contentious criticism that you just get in government. I've gone to town council meetings and I've walked out simply because people are yelling over other people so they can't be heard. And again, it's kind of a social phenomenon that it would be great if we could come down to some level of civil discourse here in town. And I certainly applaud it. I hope you'll press forward with some of these initiatives. You certainly have me on your side, obviously, and probably the rest of the Economic Development Committee, because I think that the key, I agree with you, I think the key moving forward, the only way that we're going to take away the distrust of government is by bringing people in, by engaging people,
That's right.
by making government more open so that there aren't any nooks and crannies that, special deals can be made.
But the question is whether or not the commitment is there. At the very same time that we have these financial challenges, and we're probably going to have to cut areas of the budget, the question is whether there is a commitment and an understanding of the importance of these type of tools. As you know, we don't broadcast live these programs, and there aren't a lot of the committees. The various committees are doing a lot of good work, but I don't know how many opportunities there are for the residents to see that. And if you want feedback from the
exactly.
citizens, they have to know what's going on. Now, at the same time, I applaud the volunteerism that allows us to do that. I know it's a very different situation than in Massachusetts, where there's a funding source to do these things. So I don't know how much is possible, but the more we can open up town government, obviously the better we'll be.
I certainly agree, and when Portsmouth Patch came in here, what was it, a couple of years ago, I guess, that was a great breath of fresh air. It allowed people to basically say things. It allowed people like me to put a blog out there. And yes, you get all the negative comments, but every once in a while you'll get somebody that says something that's useful. I'm delighted. I think you are probably the first of anybody in town government in Portsmouth that I know of that has taken the initiative to actually go out and do things, not simply to respond to some comment or criticism, but to actually go out and say, this is what I'm doing today, what do you think? And so I hope certainly that you'll be doing more of that stuff moving forward. We went through a sort of what turned out to be not really a hurricane back in October. And one of the key issues that was raised during this thing, in fact, we did, Portsmouth Economic Development Committee did a survey. We do web surveys. They don't reach as many people perhaps, but they're free or cheap, and they're relatively easy to do and to read the data from. But one of the key criticisms was almost a total lack of communicating with the public by the town leader, the town leadership. It didn't help that it happened over a weekend when the town leadership was not at the town hall.
Right.
But it's things like that. There was criticism and a lot of it. And then this is what, 3-4 months ago, that the criticism occurred, and we've yet to see any response from that. So I think people are interested in trying to make our town better. They do, sometimes the comments and things, particularly on places like Patch, get kind of acerbic and caustic. But I think people's hearts are in the right direction. They'd like to see this place go where it can go as far as it can go in the future. And I think one of the ways we do this is what you did in Barnstable, is leverage technology, bring people in, get them interested, get supporters. I'm confident that approach will work here in Portsmouth, and I certainly wish you well, and I hope you will call on any of the PEDC people that you meet, because every one of us is more than willing to volunteer to help in this thing.
Well, the emergency system that you mentioned is I'm just a strong supporter of that, and I will include a request for funding in that. You know, it isn't just the storms, the hurricanes that you need to be concerned about, but the Blackboard Connect and the Code Red systems or whatever are so they're so helpful that you don't, it's not just town-wide. You can zone in on a neighborhood if there's a gas leak, if there's an elder Alzheimer's patient that is lost, if there's there are so many instances that since we have adopted it in Barnstable that we have used that no residents, at first residents were saying, geez, I don't know about the cost, you know, you may never use, you may not use it very often. They aren't asking that, they aren't saying that anymore. Yeah. You know, we've used it enough so that people are saying, you know, we wish we had that in place.
Well, you know, oddly enough, as I recall the part of the conversation, maybe I'm misremembering, one of the issues was we would overuse it. People would be concerned that they'd use it too much. And I'm saying, well, how can you use it too much? Once you have this system in place, you know, you can use this for, like you say, an elderly person gets lost, you put that out to the neighborhood. It can't hurt. It's just a telephone call.
Right.
So I applaud your efforts there too. And again, we've got plenty of support backing you up here. I would like to ask that you've been in the job now 2 weeks. You're doing a great job so far, I think. I'd like to ask if you would consider coming back in 6 months and maybe giving us, or even before, but certainly in 6 months, and giving us kind of an update on what's been going on and how these initiatives have worked out and where we have to go from there. I mean, I'd like to continue this as a dialogue.
I would look forward to that.
Okay.
And I want to thank you and all of the folks that are here, because I know you're all volunteers and you're part of you know, you're practicing what we're talking about every day, and I think you're making a difference in Portsmouth.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for joining us today. And this was a great interview with John Klimm, the new town administrator. I wish him the very best, and hope to see you all here for the next episode of It's the Economy. Thank you.